Welcome to Intro to Oracle Cloud Computing. Thank you everybody for cooperating. The first 10 minutes was unexpected, but thank you for cooperating. So welcome, and I will begin my presentation on Oracle Cloud Computing. So this is the disclaimer that you might have seen already on a lot of the other presentations, and this is just a disclaimer to say that the author reserves the right to not be responsible for the correctness and completeness of the quality of the information provided. Okay, so now I'm going to begin by giving an introduction on who I am. My name is Sonia Nath, and I am a student in Kimball High School in California, where I live, and I'm going to be a sophomore this fall. And at Kimball High School, I'm passionate about studying medicine in the Medical and Health Services Academy. And currently, I am in Stanford's High School Healthcare Administration academic program. And although I am also interested in Oracle Cloud infrastructure, which is what OCI is, I'm also very interested in medicine as well, which you will learn more about in the next presentation that I give, titled Intro to Medical Professions. But regarding this presentation, I am also a book reviewer of Implementing DevOps in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And I have earned 2 certifications in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I have a 2021 Architect Associate certification, and I also have the foundation level, which is also for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which is what OCI stands for. And here at High School Navigator, I am the Technology Officer and Career Development Coordinator. So before I begin my presentation on cloud computing, I would love to hear your guys' experience with cloud computing, how familiar you are with it, or if you have ever heard about it, or what specific clouds you've heard about. So I have a poll in the poll section, and it should be uploaded right now. So if everyone could please go to the poll section, which is the right of the chat, and please participate in the poll. That would be really appreciated. Are you able to access that? Okay, thank you for the people who have answered the poll. I really appreciate it. So it looks like we have 64% of the participants here are brand new to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which is great because then hopefully we all will be able to learn something new. Looks like we have some beginners and one expert with us, which is great. Thank you everybody for engaging in the poll. Now I will continue with my presentation. And then once again, please tell me if you're able to see my screen. Okay, great. So today's agenda for Oracle Cloud Computing is to learn about what is cloud computing, why you should be interested, the Oracle infrastructure platform, dedicated cloud, some pricing models, and some advantages and challenges that cloud and Oracle Cloud presents. So to begin, what is Oracle Cloud, or what is cloud in general? So before cloud, if people wanted to test an idea or they wanted to deploy an application or run an application, they would have to purchase computer services, they would have to buy the software licensing and the hardware, and then from there they would have to go through data centers, which would build their data servers. But this process can be lengthy, and you have to buy a lot of the hardware, and it can take up to 3 months for this process. So cloud is excellent because it allows people to test new ideas and run applications much quicker and for a much lower cost because you pay for what you use, and you also save space in your data center because you don't have a lot of physical hardware and software occupying space in your office. So rather than having to create data servers each time, which can take up to 3 months, companies can buy and use cloud for their projects. And if their ideas are successful, from there they can scale them. And then if they don't work, they can just close that cloud account or tenancy. So, a better way to think about this is to think about pizza. For example, if you wanted to eat pizza, you have two options. You can go to a pizza store and you can go and buy that pizza, which is what a lot of us use. A lot of us do. We go and buy pizza, and that's like cloud because we pay for the cloud or we pay for the pizza, and then we bring it home and we pay for what we need. Otherwise, if we didn't go to the store and we wanted to eat pizza, we would have to buy a pizza oven, we would have to buy the ingredients, and we would have to take the time to go and make that pizza, which is like using a traditional on-premise environment because that takes a long time and you would have to build the data server. So cloud makes it easier, faster, and cheaper to deploy applications. So, why should you be interested at all in learning about cloud computing? Cloud is here to stay, it's not going anywhere. And cloud, as we just said, allows people to deploy new things quickly and inexpensively. And in terms of careers in cloud, you can earn good money or up to six figures as a cloud computing architect. And there are also currently many different cloud platforms, which you may have heard of. So OCI is Oracle's cloud, AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, is Amazon's cloud, Azure is Microsoft's cloud, and GCP is Google's cloud. So, based on your cloud ecosystem and what you are trying to achieve, you can choose which main provider or which main cloud provider you want to migrate to from your on premise environment, which means that if you're currently not on cloud and you want to go to cloud, you can choose which Oracle Cloud, which cloud provider you want to move to, so that and that would be based on your goal and what you're trying to achieve. So now let's look at some cloud computing categories. So roughly, cloud computing can be divided into these three hosted services. And these services are SaaS, which is software as a service, PaaS, which is platform as a service, and IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. So SaaS, software as a service, is a software licensing and delivery model where software is licensed on a subscription basis and is centrally hosted. An example of something that falls into SaaS would be like Gmail. There's also PaaS, platform as a service, and that's when customers use the provider's applications running on infrastructure. And there's IaaS, infrastructure as a service, which is compute, network, and storage. So Oracle Cloud Infrastructure falls into two of these categories, and the two categories that Oracle falls into include IaaS, infrastructure as a service, and platform as a service. And in the triangle pyramid, Oracle is in those two categories. So just going back to the idea of having a career in cloud, I wanted to show you guys the average cloud computing career salaries. So in this presentation, I will be talking to you about skills that you can learn and the basic concepts of OCI so that you can, if you want, be introduced to the career of a cloud computing architect, which makes about $135,000. And as you can see, there are a lot of different careers in cloud computing. And this is not just for Oracle, but just in general for cloud computing. And even developers can also find a career in cloud. So where is Oracle Cloud available? Oracle Cloud is divided into regions, and here on this map, we can see where it is geographically divided and available. And the red dots represent places where regions are available for Oracle Cloud infrastructure. The hollow or the outline represent where it's planning to come. And then you also see some government-run cloud and Microsoft Interconnect Azure, which is like a special case where Microsoft interconnects with Oracle. But the reason why I showed you guys the map is so you can get a better visualization of how OCI is hosted in multiple regions, and it is hosted in multiple regions globally. So an OCI region is, as we said, a localized geographical area where data centers are located. A region is composed of one or more availability domains, and within the availability domains are 3 fault domains. And the fault domain's purpose is to act as a logical data center, and they protect against failure within an OCI availability domain. So this is just more about how OCI is broken down and how it's globally available, and then how from there you have different regions, and each region has one or more availability domains, and how each domain has 3 fault domains to ensure high availability and to protect against failure. And you can think about fault domains, which are usually spread 20 to 30 miles apart, as ways for protection. So the reason why they're spread apart is so if anything happens to one of the domains, then at least there are the 2 other domains so that the data is still secure. So here are the core primitives of OCI: compute, storage, networking, identity and access management, databases, and security. And this is the complete infrastructure platform for Oracle Cloud infrastructure. It has a base of infrastructure, and this platform broadly divides the main 7 services available from OCI. So those 7 services include infrastructure, data and artificial intelligence, applications, analytics, databases, governance and administration, and developer services. So let's take a bit of a pause because I know that was a good amount of information. So just to do a check, what category does Oracle Cloud Computing fall under? Software as a service, platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service? And where are the OCI regions located geographically? I have a poll set up. Which I will open right now. So if you guys could please do the poll, that would also be really nice. And don't worry about being correct or not, just try your best. This is a way to just check in with you guys. And I know that a lot of you guys are beginners, so just having like a lot of brand new information can be challenging, but it looks like a lot of you are getting it correct. Yes, Oracle Cloud Computing is falling under, you guys are doing it correctly, answering it correctly. Okay, I'll just wait a couple more seconds. Okay, yes. So you guys are right. The OCI regions geographically are located globally, and the category that Oracle Cloud Computing falls under is infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. So thank you all for interacting in the polls section. I will continue and go back to my presentation now. Okay. So I should be screen sharing. So yes, it's supposed to be infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, and the OCI regions are located globally. Okay, thank you. So moving on, now we're going to go into the 7 different structures that make up Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So the core primitives include containers, compute, and OS. So containers logically isolate resources. Compute can launch VMs or bare metal instances, which always get a private IP address. And VMs stand for virtual machines, and they always get a private IP address. And OS, which stands for operating systems, and VMware, virtual machineware, they are part of the core primitives. And these services are mainly for performing calculations, executing logic, and running applications. Storage. So the storage service includes archive, object, and file storage. And this allows structured and unstructured data to be stored, accessed, analyzed, and governed. So unstructured data would include a video file, and both structured and unstructured data is stored. And structured data would be data that includes rows and that includes columns. Networking. Oracle has the deepest networking features with the highest availability, performance, and the most security features. Okay, now let's move on to the next service of databases. So a unique part of Oracle Cloud is that Oracle is the only cloud that runs autonomous databases and a variety of them, which include JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation, OLAP, which stands for Online Analytical Processing, and OLTP, which stands for Online Transaction Processing. So what does this mean? This means that Oracle, you can think of it like using Tesla. So Oracle's autonomous database is similar to Tesla's car because it's the only database which has autonomous or self-driving features in terms of a Tesla, unlike any others. So the self-driving Tesla cars are like Oracle's autonomous databases, And all the other cars, which are not self-driving, are like all the other databases because they're not autonomous. And in Oracle's databases, this also includes open source software. And open source databases are also supported on OCI, which include SQL, structured query language, and NoSQL, which we also learned about in some of the previous webinars. So now moving on to data and artificial intelligence. And these specific parts here are not just specific to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, but they're just in general in cloud infrastructure. So big data. Big data has an Apache Spark service called Dataflow, which provides API support for integration with apps and workflows. It also has Data Catalog, which helps to manage metadata, discover data, and support data governance and data integration. And there are also artificial intelligence services, which include a machine model for learning and training. And included also in AI services are open source databases, which we also went over, which include SQL and NoSQL, which are supported in OCI. And messaging. OCI also, or under data and AI, in messaging, it has an Apache Kafka service for event streaming use cases. Okay, so now that we went over those different services, I'm about to go over the security service. But before I go into the service on security, I just want to review authentication versus authorization because they're important to properly understanding security. So you might already be aware of this, but authentication is focused on validating the identification of the user. And really, it's just asking you, are you who you say you are? And this includes credentials for when you're logging into a website, which is something we all do on a pretty daily basis. And there's also multi-factor authentication, which you may already have also done, where you sign in, but then you also may get like a code texted to your phone, and then you put that code in, and it has two-step authentication. And then there's also authorization, which deals with what permissions and access you have. Okay, so now let's get started with the governance and administration service. So in this, there are cloud operations, which include IAM, identity and access management, and also in cloud operations are compartments, which make it operationally easy to manage cloud environments and have 6 layers of nesting. And then we have security, which we went over a little bit in the previous slide. So in terms of security, we have encryption by default, automatic detection and remediation, network protection, and WAF, Web Application Firewall, which is a networking device that filters, monitors, and blocks HTTP traffic in accordance with certain rules. So you might already be familiar with Web Application Firewall, but an example of that is your school computer blocking specific websites, which is the WAF blocking those specific websites so you're not able to access certain things or websites on your laptop. And observability and management. Observability and management offers logging, which is a main platform for all logs like audit, infrastructure, and database and applications. Logging analytics and APM, application performance management. So now we're going to move on to the developer services. So developer services is great for any developers because if any developers happen to migrate over to cloud, they can use these services. So in the low code section, OCI's managed low code service like Apex, and some of the other developer services such as SQL, Cloud Shell, and APIs are supported. And we have infrastructure as code. And in infrastructure as code, we have the Terraform service called Resource Manager. And the purpose of Terraform is to manage your Oracle Cloud infrastructure. And by using Terraform and infrastructure as code, you can use declarative code to write the final result, and then it will take care of managing the infrastructure, and it helps to reduce repetitive tasks. Okay, now let's move on to applications and analytics. So applications would be OLTP, online transaction processing, and analytics. An example is OLAP. So in applications, these are some of the examples. So an example of an application would be a serverless application, which helps to create microservices and event-driven architecture, such as functions, events, and API gateway. There's also app integration, which involves notifications and workflow. And then there's business and industry, SaaS or software as a service, which involves marketing and finance and vertical industry and human resources. That was the applications, and now let's go to the analytics. So some examples of analytics include fusion and function analytics, and here at the right side on the bottom, we have a picture of OCI audit analysis from the Oracle Cloud website. And here we can see graphs that model some of the information and analyze it. Okay, now let's take a break for some interactive questions. Can you recall what feature is unique about Oracle databases compared to others? And what service or what building block or service does Terraform come under? Which we discussed. And then here I have two hints in these images. And right now I will post the polls so we can hear your response. So again, I really appreciate it if you could poll your answer for can you recall what feature is unique about Oracle databases compared to others? Okay, so it looks like you guys are also on the right track, which is really awesome. So I'll just give a few more minutes for the second poll, which is on what building block or service does Terraform come under? So for the unique feature about Oracle databases, that is correct. Autonomous databases are the unique feature, like we discussed with the Tesla car example. And 70% of you have said autonomous databases. Great job. And So for the next question on what building block or service does Terraform come under, it's developer services, and we didn't talk about it as much, but it does come under the developer services. And 22% of you said developer services, which is great. It's good. Okay, so now I'm going to continue sharing my screen, and thank you everybody for answering in the poll and interacting. Thank you. So now I'm going to go and continue my presentation. So yes, autonomous databases and developer services. And developer services is right here. It was Terraform, and it was under this slide. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about dedicated region. So what is dedicated region? Dedicated region is a region in a customer's data center which acts as a cloud. It is used for large customers and companies with high latency. Rather than having to access the cloud, it comes to them. The benefits include 99.95% availability, security of the private cloud, and data sovereignty. So to give you a better understanding of what that means, you can think of this as like a taco truck. So dedicated region is like you going out and choosing a taco truck, which is like you going out and choosing a cloud region. Or what you could do if you wanted, if you say you have a big party, and the big party is representative of having a large company, and you want to access the cloud, or you want to go get tacos. Instead of having to go all the way to the cloud or having to go all the way to the taco truck, because that will have high latency or high delay, because in the taco example, you would have to go all the way, buy all your tacos, and come back, you can have dedicated region where the region acts as a cloud. So it would be analogous to inviting the taco truck to be at your house and having the truck being right there in your house or outside of your house, and then you can have as many tacos without having the delay of going all the way and getting it because it's coming to you. Okay, now let's talk about some pricing models and why Oracle stands out. In on the Cloud Economics website on Oracle, they posted a quote where they compared Oracle's storage service to that of Amazon Web Service, which is another very popular cloud. And when they compared Oracle's storage to Amazon Web Services storage, they found out that Oracle's block storage offers as much as 1.5 times the input-output operations per second performance for 81% less cost for 500 gigabytes of capacity. So it's substantially cheaper. And this quote can be found on the Oracle Cloud Economics website. So now going back to the models that Oracle has, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure has consistent global pricing. So what does that mean? It means that irrespective of where you live or which data center you use, you pay the same price no matter what, regardless of the data center that you choose. And this is a unique feature to OCI. There's also bring your own license, and that can be, you can have an example of that where if you have an Oracle database license on your regular on-premise environment and you're migrating to the cloud, you can bring over that license so you don't have to pay completely for that database. And then you just pay for the computing power of it, but you will still have the license and it's going to be substantially less because you already have that license, which you can just carry over to your OCI account. You also pay as you go, so you only pay for what you need. You don't buy like everything. Like in the pizza example, you don't have to buy the oven, the ingredients, and everything. You just pay for what you need as you go. And then there are also Oracle Universal Credits, which are credits that you can purchase and then use throughout. But then also, aside from all of these different pricing models, you can always go into Oracle and make your own free tier account. Oracle has an always free account, which is very useful because people that are new can go in and learn about Oracle Cloud and try different things, which they have they have some constraints, but it's still a very great tool for you to just start with. And they also have a 30-day free trial tool, which we'll get into a little bit later. And that's great because you can always be learning about this without having to pay for it. And here we have a scale that shows how much gigabytes is relative to other bytes. So here's some other features that I didn't get to get into depth about, but I just want you to be aware of. Cloud resource pooling, on-demand self-service, rapid elasticity, measured service, broad network access, event-driven architecture, observability and management, hybrid capabilities, developer services, which we did learn about, and SLA, which is a service level agreement, and support. So to sum up or to conclude, cloud is excellent because it allows people to deploy new applications quickly and inexpensively. Like we said, you get to pay as you go. OCI takes care of the hardware, the networking, and the software for you in the shared security model. So you only have to worry about the identity and access management, IAM policies, the key management, and the configuration of the VCM. And okay, so just checking the chat. Okay. And then again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A section or the chat. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the challenges that OCI presents. Company employees may have to invest some time into learning the services and features of OCI when transitioning from their on-premise environment to Oracle Cloud. And in addition to that, public cloud can have high latency or delay for critical applications such as manufacturing. And these specific ideas or challenges aren't very specific to Oracle Cloud in general. They're just challenges that you would have with cloud, because whenever you're transitioning to a new environment, the new cloud, you're going to have to spend some time to really learn the specific services of that cloud. And then also you will have some delay for critical applications such as manufacturing. And another way to think about that is like if you're using a Word document from the application itself from like Microsoft 365, then since you're using it right from the actual hardware that's stored on your local hardware, since you're using it straight from the application, it will be faster than using the online document because it is dependent on the internet connection and the internet connectivity that you have. And that's very similar to like public cloud. When you're using when you're using your traditional on-premise environment, you won't have as much delay. But since public cloud is like using it online, then you are going to have to make sure it's going to be dependent on your internet connection and you might have some delay. So to conclude, can you name one core building block from the from the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Platform and one service it provides? And how much did you learn today about Oracle Cloud Infrastructure or just cloud computing in general today? So can you name one core building block? You can see here in this diagram, we have the 7 services which we went over today: infrastructure, data and AI, databases, analytics, applications, developer services, and governance administration. So I'll put out the poll right now. And these will be the last polls for today. And this is just a way for me to see how much you learned from this and how helpful this was for you. I know that we had a lot of people that were new to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure or were beginners or that had never heard of it. So it would be very useful to see if you learned how much you learned or how much you learned. And I hope that everybody did find this useful and that it did meet your expectations on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And I highly encourage you that if you found learning about cloud interesting, that you go out and you learn more about it. I will be right now going through some really helpful resources so that you guys also can pursue or get a certification in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, because the foundations exam is free and you have up to 10 attempts, and it's a really great way for you to show proficiency in learning this and learning OCI. And going back to the poll, it looks like a lot of people did find this interesting and did learn about Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So that's really great. Thank you everybody for interacting throughout this. And then I'm not done quite yet. I want to show you some resources because I want you guys to also be able to continue. So going back to my presentation, here are some free learning resources for OCI. So on Oracle University's website, there are links here's a link, and they have all the courses, and they're not just for Oracle Cloud. They have a lot of different courses that you could try. They have hours of prep material available. LinkedIn Learning also has prep material for you, and there are also really great YouTube videos for you. And I will post the link for those in the chat. And it also is really great for job interviews because it's something interesting that a lot of people might not have. And thank you everybody for the presentation. Let's connect on LinkedIn. I'm gonna be putting in my LinkedIn account profile also in the chat, as well as the helpful links, which would be so if you guys could check out the profile, that'd be great. And then I have some links for you that I would like to show you. Yeah, I'll post them in the chat as well. And you guys could definitely, if you have some free time, you could go on to Oracle's website. You can create a free account and you can do some different like hands-on things and check it out, play around with it, and try to learn from it, because hands-on is a great way to learn in addition to watching the videos. And I encourage you guys to to try to learn from the videos and take the exam, because you can get certified and it's free. And does anybody have any questions? So thank you again, everybody, for joining this webinar and learning about cloud computing. I just want to share what the screen looks like. If you do want to create an account with Oracle, then this is what it would look like. So I am sharing my screen. Okay, so I should be sharing my screen, and this is what the training website looks like. If you have time, you should definitely come to the website. This is the video where Rohit Rahi will give you a brief explanation. Here you can enroll in the path. You can go through, complete the different lessons, and then you can book your certification, and then you can earn your badge. And were you able to see the Oracle website? Thank you, everyone. Was anyone able to see the Oracle website? I just clicked the link and then was showing the screen. But thank you, everybody, for... Yes, okay, great. That's awesome. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you.